Hong Kong inspires him.
其實我係一個演員。
Hong Kong also fails him.
There was one recent happening that I would consider a major down, and that was my recent divorce. That divorce was caused by the protests.
But Sergio Monteiro, a Hong Kong-based American writer, columnist, programmer, who born into a diplomatic family, has never lost faith in the city.
To me, this city now is my home. But on the inside, I consider myself part white, part black, and part Asian.
2022 marks the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to its motherland. China Daily talks to expatriates who live in Hong Kong to get their perspective on changes over the past 25 years. Welcome to watch Hong Kong at 25. Hello, Sergio.
Hi.
How long have you been in Hong Kong?
I've been in Hong Kong off and on, I would say more than 27 years now.
So how's your Cantonese then? That's a fairly long time.
其實我係一個演員。
Wow, that's familiar. Is it from Stephen Chow?
Yes, it is. Yes.
其實我係一個演員。
And it's one of his famous lines. I consider Stephen Chow to be one of my very first Cantonese teachers. Around, I guess, 14 or 15, I was sitting at home one day, and I was browsing through the channels, and I found a movie on TV, and I decided to watch it. And that movie was a Stephen Chow movie. And I found it interesting because that movie was being shot in my school at the time, which was Shatin College. So as I was watching the movie and reading the subtitles, I found him to be a comedic genius. And since then I really loved watching his movies, and they always had English subtitles. So what I would do is I would slowly pick up words from reading the subtitles of his movies. Yeah, so that's how my Cantonese started. And then once I learned certain phrases or certain vocabulary, I would practice it on bus drivers, taxi drivers, random people. And then from that, you have the Cantonese that I speak today, which some people have called near fluent.
So you were physically in Hong Kong in 1997 when Hong Kong was about to return to its motherland.
Sure.
So how old were you then?
In 1997, I was, I guess, 21.
So how was the general atmosphere back then?
Well, at 21, I was working as a personal trainer in one of the new gyms that had sprang up around that time. So I was there at the beginning of the gym craze in Hong Kong. And I had become one of the youngest, or if not the youngest, personal trainer in Hong Kong at that time. So I was very much in the expat community at that time. And the general atmosphere was one of, was festive. They were thinking of it as more of a party than anything scary. This is festive, this is historic even, they had positive feelings about the handover.
So it has been 25 years since then. I'm sure you would agree with me that Hong Kong has been through many ups and downs. What about your life? Any ups and downs during your past in Hong Kong?
Wow, many. I spent most of my formative years here. I had a lot of firsts here. First girlfriend, first time getting into a fight, first time having my parents mad at me, first time running away from home. A lot of these things for me happened here. There was one recent happening that I would consider a major down, and that was my recent divorce from my wife of 6 years. That divorce was, it wasn't caused by the traditional ways that divorces are caused. There was no cheating, there was no stealing, there was nothing like that, but that divorce was caused by the protests. She herself was very, very much in the yellow camp, and she thought that I was in the blue camp, right? First of all, I never saw Hong Kong as yellow or blue, and I refused to to see things this way, right? Because I saw that this was a binary being imposed on Hong Kong people. She mistook that refusal to accept a blue and a yellow as support for the blue. From the very beginning, because of my dad's job, he taught me a lot about how international politics works. And from the beginning, I knew that America had their hands in this somehow. And as per their playbook, their general way of doing these things is they go to a place, they find a place that has a legitimate grievance, right? Then they teach those people how to use that grievance to disrupt the government, disrupt society. And I saw that the Hong Kong people, the very trusting Hong Kong people, were being used in that way. And so for that reason alone, I could not say to her that I support your actions. Instead, what I said was, you guys are being used, right? You're being used really, really obviously. Can you just please believe me when I tell you that you're being used? But she wouldn't see it that way. And eventually, she initiated the divorce, and it was finalized only last month, actually. It was tough in the beginning because of how sudden it happened and the reason it happened. It was quite tough to accept that as a reason. But you know, I tried to stay resilient at that time. But yeah, I mean, I'm over that now.
You just mentioned the protest. So it is a months-long protest. It lasts for several months. How would you describe Hong Kong in 2019?
With one word, it would be scary. Not scary because of what the protesters were doing, but scary at how fast outside forces could make Hong Kong turn on itself. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine's brother was thinking, just 6 months before the protest began, was thinking of joining the police. But then as soon as the protest began, he is about 19 years old. As soon as the protest began and the videos started coming out saying the police did this and the police did that, and they gave no critical thinking to what they were hearing, and they were just believing these things, he hated the police, right? When the reality is that the Hong Kong police are one of the best police forces in the entire world. And I was scared, literally scared and surprised by how fast Hong Kong people could turn on a major, I guess you could say, benefit of the city. It's like if you decided to attack your own arm, right? So that scared me more than anything about the protests. Yeah, like how fervent the people were. Yeah, and you know, it was quite. I mean, to anyone who has studied how civil disobedience, actions take place, it was very obvious that this had a lot of money behind it, and they were obviously targeting very young people, right? So there were apps, there were songs, there was a whole pageantry to the whole thing. And to me, that made it super obvious that it was not completely organic. But of course, you know, at that time, whoever was directing this protest, they needed the protesters, one, to be as young as possible, but as big enough so that they can actually do things, right? And to not use any logic. They needed them to act strictly on emotion.
So this year marks the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. You have been in this city for more than 25 years. So what's this city to you?
I consider this city my home. And the only thing that I hope for is that I can live in this home with a certain level of harmony with the culture.
So thank you, Sergio. It was really lovely talking to you.
And you too. Thank you.
And I hope that we will have this talk when Hong Kong celebrates its 30th anniversary,
I'll be here.
which is 5 years from now.
I'll definitely be here.